Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode talking about baseball. I don't know about you, but I love talking about baseball.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
Coach Zoe and I talk baseball all the time, and it's wonderful because we talk about things that we see and experience. And the best part about our relationship is we always find ways to make things better for baseball and for people that are involved with baseball. So tonight's episode, this one right now, is, and I keep going back to this point on the pad. We call them the tough topics because these are the topics that we may not necessarily have answers to.
Right.
All right, it's literally tough to figure out what to do, but we do have a lot of suggestions. We have a lot of just thoughts to bring to the table in regards to our tough topic tonight. Coach Zoe, introduce our tough topic, and you go first.
All right. So a tough topic is going to be the dynamic of travel ball. Let me make sure this microphone. Hello. We hear me? All right.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
The dynamic of travel ball. All right. So how is it affecting the players? Is it preparing them for that next level? Whatever that may be. If it's a younger guy that's going into high school, is it preparing them for varsity baseball? Is it if they're at a higher level with perfect game in high school, are they being prepared for that next level of collegiate baseball, so forth and so on? Some people talk about the monetary demand it may bring. Some teams travel more than others, so the time or the travel demand as well. And the question is always asked: is it worth my time? Is it worth my money? Should I, send my son to this showcase to be, sign them for this showcase team, or is there a better alternative? So that is what we'll be juggling with today.
Well, we're bringing this from all different angles, right? We're talking about stuff we've seen as coaches at the travel level. We're talking about it as two guys that never really played travel ball because it wasn't around when we were there. So
Not
we have,
like this, no.
yeah, we're kind of coming from that old school biased opinion side, but we're also backing it up with facts. So we're going to do our best we can to not trash talk travel ball because there's not many alternatives for it, but there are some ways that you can utilize that platform and also utilize maybe what's right around you never even thought about, because the idea of spending all that money and time in travel ball, why you can't even think about
Right.
what else to do.
About travel ball, though, we'll say there are, like he said, we're not here to bash it. There are lots and lots of positive things, and I think with any situation or opportunity, it's also what you do with it. So I couldn't agree more.
Well, I'm going to start by saying that travel ball makes me frustrated.
Okay.
All right? It's frustrating, not because it's bad, but because there's just not that much information about how it actually correlates with going from the travel team that you're currently going to be playing on or you play on to, if I'm playing travel ball, I automatically go and play in high school, and then I automatically go to I think there's that mentality that just by being on the team, and so that's what frustrates me. And the reason I say it, the facts that back this up are my experience as a high school and a college baseball coach. All right, there's a quote that I have here. We're gonna go to this and then discuss. Is the reason why I get so frustrated, because as a coach at that high level where I know that they could go pro, but there's certain things that they just don't know.
Right.
And it's not being reinforced, and they're not being held accountable on these travel teams because that's not what the purpose is. So here's the quote, and then we're going to dive into it. Again, if you just checked in live, I can't see that far. Thanks for checking in. We're going to be doing a lot more of these podcasts. If you have any questions or you just want to make a comment or remark about travel ball, go ahead and do it on the Instagram, and then we will catch up with you in a few minutes. All right, here's the quote. We cannot expect players to...
My bad, go ahead.
Bless you. We cannot expect players to execute... Just regular voice?
Yeah.
All right. We cannot expect players to execute things in games that we haven't spent ample time working on. Catching fundamentals, pitchers executing pitches, PFP, pitchers backing up bases, rundowns, cuts and relays, situational hitting, controlling the running game, pop-up priorities. And I'm gonna add pop-ups, catching pop-ups at the end,
Right.
not just priorities. So I feel better getting that out.
Okay.
All right. You could tell the difference in a player that's gonna make it than a player that's just really good. And these are prime examples. I've seen kids excellent batting practice rounds. Beautiful, man. Look at that kid hit.
I know.
And then you see him in the game, and he's up there. And first pitch fastball, right down. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. I set him up. No, you didn't. You're about to be set down. What are you?
Go ahead.
I've seen pitchers like not even move off the mound, and then there's a bad throw, and then no one even says anything to the pitcher, and then it's just okay. They got an extra base. I don't know, man, but I was a shortstop. I love defense. As a coach, I love defense. An extra base is closer to scoring. What are we doing? So
if it's free, can't do it.
Let's break this down.
Okay.
In travel ball, and Coach Zoe is recent in this travel ball experience. You have coached teams for the past 3-4 years.
3 summers in a row, 3-4 summers. Yeah.
All right, so you've been in that environment with travel ball. So I'm gonna rely on your expertise, my friend.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. When you coached the travel ball,
Okay.
how many players do you have on your team on average?
So the last 2 or 3 seasons was more along the age group of like 15, 16, 17. So
Okay.
damn, that's a great question. I would say
A better question for game time.
yeah, that's
What usually typically at game time, how many do you think you would have? Like, were you comfortable showing up? No, what did you have for the travel teams?
Anywhere from 9 to 11, 9 to 12. A good weekend was 12 players.
And what would you prefer?
What would I prefer?
Yeah.
14, 15 players for a week, for a weekend. Yeah.
So if you're on a travel team and you've noticed, or if your kid's on a travel team, you've noticed that there's like 9 to 12 kids at game time, 13. That's not good.
No.
That's not good for them to meet their
Absolutely.
expected goals as a player. So that's one fact to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
All right, question number 2.
I like that.
Question number 2. Rundowns.
Oh.
All right, I'm breaking this quote down, but
you.
rundowns I love because it's just not executed as often as I would imagine it to be. Okay. Would you agree that on the travel circuit, because you have a bunch of kids that you don't practice as much, right? And we're gonna go talk about that. But do they execute rundowns like it should be 100%, right?
Or
Getting someone out.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And do they do this? Absolutely not. I also think that when you call a team a showcase team, a lot of assumptions are made. We assume that these guys can do a rundown, or better yet, I think I heard you allude to it earlier. We assume that they've been taught this somewhere else.
Right.
You're 16. You just verbalized to me that you want to play Division I baseball. Well, then, respectfully, I just made this list of things that I truly assume you already know how to do. I assume you know how to hit a fastball in the outer half of the plate. I assume you know how to do a rundown. I assume you understand the priority and hierarchy of fly balls, let alone know how to go get one and verbalize, hey, I got it. But as we both have seen, guys that are literally approaching draft boards still don't do things like that. So.
And those guys that are approaching draft boards, they'll fit the description.
Pass the eye test.
All right. They have one or more tools that are above average.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they just know people. So.
Or their last name is.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we're saying facts. Saying facts. Some experiences, but there's those facts. Now, on the travel circuit, you've traveled to many states.
I have.
On a typical summer, how many weekends are you out of town coaching a travel team?
It's gonna be on a summer. It'll be between 5 and 8, depending.
I was gonna guess 6 to 8.
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
Nice.
I just got invited for a team this summer. I think that 5 or 6 weekends. So,
all right,
between 5 and 8, absolutely.
So it's a good time commitment, and
it is.
You got to have something to get around.
Yes, you do. Yes,
all right, we're gonna come back to that because that's gonna be my topic of discussion is about the family dynamic. So, so it's a commitment. Now, what happens if a kid does not attend one weekend?
Well, if we're going to talk about the perspective of the player, I think that lose out on the opportunity for exposure. And I think that's what this big, to me, the showcase platform brings that we didn't quite have that you tapped into. Is that for me, it's an easier way to be exposed to areas and coaches that you probably wouldn't have been able to tap into.
Right. That's a great point there.
I think
Say it again a little louder for these people, because that was really good.
Sure.
I like that.
Okay.
Forget about that sometimes.
Yeah. But no, I think that the platform of travel baseball, we talk about perfect game and all these other things. I think it's the exposure for the players. You said what happens if they miss a weekend, then they miss out on the opportunity to be able to expose themselves to either other players that are being recruited or other coaches that may be traveling to come out and get some new talent. Because you hear a lot of guys in a lot of sports say, "Oh, I got my shot because the coach was going to see somebody else on my team or my opponent, and I dominated my opponent that day."
I love dominating someone that's supposed to be better.
Me too.
I love that.
I like the story of the underdog. Me too.
And then if you get out, you're supposed to. So
hey.
it's a win-win.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Hey, great point though. I mean,
that's for the player.
We live in the DMV, so we live just outside of DC, right? And so this area here, there's a lot of opportunities for people to get looked at because there's a lot of schools. There's a lot of colleges around here. So there's a lot of showcases you can attend, school visits. But not everywhere is going to be like that, right? So, yeah, being on a travel team allows you to go to these different states and places and play in front of these scouts. A lot of stories are very similar to what you just talked about. So there are great benefits to doing the travel team. Sure. But you also have to be the player that they're going to look at.
Right.
And so what we listed earlier, the list that we just went over, if you're if you're watching and you don't even know what some of those mean, okay, again, you're allowed that error.
Absolutely.
But this is the stuff, if there's a coach that is talking about this stuff, go to that coach and learn from that coach. Because these are the things that are making the biggest difference. I've coached high school. I've coached high schools that we didn't have guys that even played baseball before.
Right.
I love saying stuff like that because I'm like, oh, here goes that guy again.
No, but that's real.
But it's true. And we would I would make sure that we had all these things down before we would even take back. Because you could hit a ball. You could stand up there and just hit it.
Absolutely.
And then, obviously I work a lot of pitchers just to pound the zone and catchers. But, I mean, if we didn't know how to back up or the PFPs, you're going to lose the one-run ball game.
Yep.
And those travel teams, I've noticed, I talk to a lot of players and coaches and parents, and they don't even see bunts. So that's a big part of the game, unless you're hitting Aaron Judge home runs. And
I think there's a mantra about showcase baseball where it's like,
what is it?
I mean, we brought this up right before you started recording, and I laughed and I turned to you and I said, I try to do a lot of these things we'll say within the first week. I won't just say the first day of practice, but within the first week, because also as a teacher or a coach, we want to give a diagnostic or a pre-test. I want to see where you guys are.
Right.
I can already look up your perfect game profile and see that you throw 88 or you throw 90 and you can hit the ball 90 off the tee. But they didn't tell me if you were a good thinker, all right, or if you understood how to think on your feet, or if you're prepared before every pitch, right, or if you're ready to make a play on defense. I need to see that. I need to figure that out. So these things help me figure out what's your IQ. Are you a leader? Your word that we both say it, but I've heard you say it a lot lately. Intangibles. I need to figure out these intangibles to figure out like what position will you fit best for me, because value system, like we always talk about. For me as a coach, my role as a coach on the Showcase platform is to put you in the best position to be successful. And usually I go into the assumption you want to play at the next level. I want you to be successful in the realm of the success of this team. So you might tell me you're a third baseman, like you said, but if you're a better role as a pitcher or a first baseman or a DH, guess what? That's what you're going to do today. And I expect you to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, you're crushing this, man. You're crushing this. The team dynamic is gone, right? Man. A lot of these kids, they'll play multiple teams.
That's why Legion was dope.
Yeah, Legion. That's the alternative, too.
Like
Do you get good coaches?
I can't speak on that.
I know.
But I'm
just finding ways.
But I am truly so far removed from American Legion baseball that's my honest response. It's not like I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Some states have it more. Some states still have it.
Right.
Very competitive.
More prevalent. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's the one thing about travel ball, and the topic that I wanted to discuss today was the role of family in this whole thing, right? We know the kid is playing travel ball. They got the nice jersey. They got the multiple hats, right? They got the matching bag that they put on. So there's a lot. If you want, you can use this as well. But there's a lot of things that we don't consider when we sign up for a travel ball. So we just want to give you that knowledge, right? And again, for people that I know that have travel teams and they run big organizations, it's great. Keep doing it. There's a lot of facts to it, or not facts, a lot of bonuses to it. But I at least want to provide this for all of you because this is real. I'm on the phone every day with a parent or a kid talking about the same stuff that we are talking about today. So the family dynamic. If you only have one kid, that's great. That's great you got a kid. And you can spend 6 to 8 weekends traveling to different states and paying for hotel rooms and food and gas, not working on the weekends. I know I work every weekend. That would cost me a lot of money. And you know, my daughter is 17 right now, and she never really got to play the travel ball scene because I could not do it. And I have multiple jobs, and I couldn't even do it. So, you know, that family dynamic. Now, if you have multiple kids, well, not all the kids aren't going to be playing on the travel ball team. So, kid A has a travel ball tournament in Georgia. That's great. Have fun. Well, but kid B, she wants to stay and play with her friends because it's her friend's birthday party that weekend. Well, so now one of the parents has to stay, one has to go. Well, we know the importance of family at the games. We know the importance of having parents at the games. There's research and validity behind the fact that if you have someone at the game that cares about you, it means a lot more. You're gonna not necessarily for the results of the game. You're not gonna play better. As a matter of fact, you might play worse. I know my brother came. I always played bad. Every time my brother came, I was like, shh.
Okay.
I love, you know, but I was like, uh-oh. But to not have family come and then the family splits weekends and then one's going, one's not, it really drives, it drives a level of stress. And I don't know every family personally, but I do know that I have seen a lot of families just with the face. You can see it in their face. Yeah. Like, oh, this weekend, you know, I got to go to New York, but then, you know, I got to come back and then I got to go back and get him and then come. But we're talking about going from state to state. I have trouble going 20 miles and back without being tired and exhausted. So, you know, it really, you talk about the money side, right? And what's that? You keep using that word. The
value system.
The value system. And the value of losing that precious family time when your kids are younger, it does not pay off. I have not seen a kid that has played travel ball that the parents haven't been there with them and they like continue to play or continue to want to play. Because kids know. Kids aren't dumb. Kids know that it's splitting families apart.
Sure.
You know, and we don't know the correlation. I'm not talking about divorce. I'm not a therapist.
I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
You know, but the younger siblings, then they resent the other sibling because the parents are paying money and travel. And for what? Like we said, a lot of times they don't even learn the game. They're just playing the game. And you're not paying to play. You're paying them to grow, to develop.
Right. And
travel teams often, and I hate that word development. We all use it. Oh, come to my camp. It's a developmental camp. Everybody says it. But not necessarily does that happen on a... And again, there's a lot of great coaches in travel ball. I mean, you're a phenomenal coach, but
development to me,
you can't coach a team with 9 kids.
Me and you, but development to me and you might be, hey, making sure that your skills get better and that your intangibles are better and that you take a better confident lead and that you, I don't know, you go up there ready to hit every time, yes, no, instead of, okay, right? Opposed to another coach could say, hey, this is a developmental camp because I got the top 100 guys here in the same space at the same field, and they have a great opportunity. That's development. Like, so, I mean, it's your perception of the word and what you value in development. Like, because is it short-term development? Is it long-term development? Is it development at what level? Like, to us, sometimes what we may call development, someone else might say, like, oh, that's not much.
Well, like I said, we've only seen certain things, right? And I've coached travel teams years ago, and some of those teams were phenomenal teams, and a lot of those kids went on to play college. Did they play college because of that travel team or because of the high schools they went to?
Say it again. Did they do?
Was a correlation of them playing college ball because they played travel ball, or is it because of like the high school they went to, or the programs like ours that they attended, or other trainers or coaches out there that they go to? So how do we even know the correlation? So all this time we're spending all this money and time throwing it. Here you go, travel ball. But really, like you said, there are alternatives. Mm-hmm. There are alternatives, and maybe you can just discuss a little bit. You know, if you're spending, how much did the travel team cost you, coach? To play.
Honestly, I didn't even ask because I knew it was bad. But to my knowledge, like what I heard parents saying was, I think around 2,500, 3,000.
Yeah, up to 4 or 5, depending on.
And that's not counting the flights, the hotels, the food, and
missing time working.
Seriously, and then don't let us be in Orlando or East Coast, but in certain cities where there's attractions. Now the guys they want to go to the beach, they want to go to the amusement park, they want to go and do all this stuff, and now it's a vacation. And that's my next thing, which we could spiral into that.
Go ahead.
Is we get to Florida. This is last year, and I'm with my coach, and I think I was the assistant coach last summer, and so we were talking after the game, and attitude and effort, my pillars.
Of course,
we didn't show much of either, and I asked, I'm serious.
I know we talked about it a lot,
and so I asked like. So basically, it seems like, guys, I didn't see much today. Like, it feels like you guys are just here, happy to be here. We left from D.C. Y'all are just happy to be here in Florida. Like, there's teams out here that literally are here to dominate you, like chew you up and spit you out. Like, if they don't bat 600 this weekend, they don't get a scholarship. Like, they're trying to feed themselves and their family, and y'all are taking advantage of just being in Florida. Like, I can already hear y'all talking about going to the beach and doing other stuff. Like, we don't have another game or two tomorrow. Like, I'm confused. So after the game, it was our strong team of 10 or 11. How many of y'all want to play college, want to play at the next level? I think out of 11 or 12, I think it was 11 or 12 of them. Out of 11 or 12, I think 5 of them confidently raised their hand. The second best I'd say he's probably the second best player on the team, stared a hole through my face and made sure not to raise his hand. I said, "Are you purposely not raising your hand?" He was like, "Nah, I don't." Yeah, and I don't plan.
Did you understand the question?
Yeah, I thought I was tripping.
Right.
And he stood on it like, "Nah, I'm not trying to play in college." All right, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
So then my next statement had to be, because I wasn't expecting that.
Right,
I really wasn't expecting that,
especially with that fate, because you're. Like, why would he do it to you?
So now I have to tell you guys, okay, well, for those of you that don't care or are not committed enough to make it to the next level, whatever you do, don't be the reason that the people that raise their hand don't get their opportunity to be the best version of themselves or try to play the next level.
Goes back to that whole team, the pride of the team.
You said, because if I care about the person next to me enough, even though I don't really give a F about playing in college, I'm going to bust my tail and I'm going to get dirty and I'm going to try as hard as I can, because I know and that's what I tell them. We came out here to Florida and went like 1-6. You know, if y'all win games, people are going to come and scouts are going to come, and it's just a domino effect. But
you got the one, though. That's cool. Went to Florida for one win and came back.
Yeah. Did we? Yeah, I think we got one.
I mean, I can't blame him for wanting to go to the beach. But again, I wanted to go to the beach, but I would be talking about the game first probably. Or I wouldn't even let the coach hear that.
Yo.
I've heard some stuff. I heard one time I had a college kid who was like, "Coach, the Thunderbolt." He said, "Coach, I can't really hit at night."
Excuse me?
He said, "I can't really hit at night." I was like, the whole schedule is at nighttime.
Is it a vision problem?
All 40 games are at night. Like, he's like, "Yeah, I know. I just can't really see." Or I was like, I don't know what to say to that, man. Like, what? So a lot of interesting things, but let's go back to it.
Was that real?
Yeah, that was real. I didn't know what to do, because I was like, what am I supposed to do with that, man? I was like, how am I? And he was good, and I was like, how am I?
Did you take him?
I mean, I still played him because we had games, but he would play the earlier part before the sun went down.
You really couldn't see once it got dark?
I mean, I just think he struck out a lot, and he was using that, but I don't think he thought about
how it looked.
The nighttime. Like, I don't know. That's interesting. Wild. That's a whole side note,
okay. But you said back to what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so on this topic of travel ball, right? You play travel ball. Maybe people do it for the vacations.
Maybe.
I mean, I that kind of excited me with maybe if my daughter was going to play, it was like, sure. We could go. I just couldn't afford it or miss weekends because I coach. But what are you playing it for, right? Are they playing it to play at a higher level? Well, if the answer is yes, then there's another part is what are the parents or the guard like what are the parents doing in the car ride? Because the parents don't realize or they don't realize because they know people know that it's not good to say stuff during the games. And people also know that you're not really supposed to be talking to your kid after the game about baseball. It's just there's a lot of topics that I think people don't realize. We were gonna teach them that, but
I have made the
if the parents are saying stuff like, "Hey man, forget your team. You need to get 2 hits every game this weekend to show you got to hit 400 this weekend."
Right.
Coach, how my kid supposed to hit 400 if he's not playing? Well, good news, he is playing. There's only 9 guys. So that's what I'm saying is this whole cycle. It puts you in an impossible position as a coach. You're a terrific coach, obviously.
Sure.
But you haven't had a chance to really be that coach because you can't help these kids become that college level to know all of those intangibles because they're just playing.
Holding them accountable is a real thing.
They're just playing.
I agree with that.
They could run to first base and be like, yeah, I'm going to first.
Pimping singles.
And you're like, all right, I guess you're safe at first and I can't take you out.
That happens.
It happens. All right, one of my all-time favorite baseball kids that I've coached. Can't use names, I guess. Well, maybe one day we can figure that. I don't know, Renee. Can we use names on a podcast? I guess we got to get permission, right?
Okay.
I hate permission. All right. Well, anyways, this young man, he's in college now. Okay. And I was a teacher at a school with his mom. Okay. And one day he came, he was probably like 2nd, 3rd grade. And I didn't want to do work, right? So it was like pre-service week. So I'm like, hey, you play baseball? And he's like, no. And I was like, come on, man. So I got that big yardstick, wrapped up paper, and took him in the hall, and he was just like, what? I was like, yeah. So now he's playing college ball.
Okay.
But I know he could have played, and not that it mattered. We talked a little earlier, but like he had more opportunities. Okay. But because he was playing travel ball, we would teach him stuff. He would master that skill, come back a couple months later to our camp, and completely act like he didn't know what that skill was. And that skill is the intangibles.
Yep. And I think I know you're talking about too, which is even.
And then there's another kid I'm coaching right now. He's a senior this year. He's actually ranked as one of the best players in the county.
Another good player.
He played travel ball, and I said, hey, what coaches looked at you last summer? And this was last year. He's like, oh, none. And I'm like, well, you played a whole summer, and he's good. Like he's a kid that should definitely be looked at by colleges.
He can do most of those things on that list we started this podcast.
He could.
And that's what, like...
Right, they could do that.
Interesting.
Because we've done that with them. We know they could do it.
Doesn't pass the eye test, but he could do most of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, but if he's not doing that in a game situation, if he's not in the tournament in front of those scouts in Florida, and he's not doing that or hustling or cheering, doing all those things we talked about, the attitude, effort, then he's not going to get looked at. And that, since I wasn't there, I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. But I do know that the first time I saw him playing catch after that conversation in the outfield, he wasn't doing it in a way that would get him a look. So I'm thinking, if he's doing it right now in front of me and he knows I'm always on him for it, he had to have done this at the tryout, at the showcase. Before every game in the travel ball tournament he played in, he probably was warming up the same way. Right. And the warm-ups is where the scouts pay attention to you.
That's what I do.
In the warm-ups is where the scouts pay attention to you because they see what you do when no one's looking.
Tell them one more time.
And they can... For 3 times?
Yeah, please. Got to.
I forgot what it was. You say it.
You said...
I forgot what I said.
You said that's what the scouts are paying attention to.
But what are they paying attention to?
What?
I was trying to get you to say it.
Oh.
we missed that one.
Yeah,
Strike one.
My fault.
The scouts look for how you prepare for the game. All right? Scouts, when you see scouts at a game, it's two reasons. One, because they're looking at a pitcher.
I didn't mean to laugh like that. No, it's too true. It's so true.
Yeah, if they're trying to recruit if they're trying to scout a pitcher, they'll be at the game to see how they pitch. That's obvious, right? Hitters don't get that many opportunities, so they don't typically stay for the game. Now, if you're like one of the top, if you're a high draft pick, then people will be in the stands watching you because you're a high draft pick. Yeah. Otherwise, they're not going to be at the games watching you in the game because they're gonna have to go to see you do pregame. They got to drive somewhere else to see someone do pregame, and then watch a pitcher at this game.
Yep.
So there's a schedule that they follow, and if you're not showing any signs of a next level player, immediately when they get there, they could see that. Just like I saw that young man who just played a whole summer season of travel ball, didn't get any looks. He's one of the best players in this area.
Yep.
It literally could have just been how he was playing catch.
Couldn't agree more.
And how do we get the information to actually really translate if coaches are not holding them accountable? And that's the problem, is that coaches are not holding these travel coaches don't hold the kids accountable. But it could be because they don't have enough players, so they can't.
Right.
And so they're not learning all these things that kids from other areas are learning, and we're missing out on opportunities. We were looking up local organizations, and they have lists of college commitments.
Right.
It's not a very big list, but it's a very high populated area. So a lot of time we've taken step backs. I've been doing this for a long time now, where I've been really paying attention to the landscape of baseball in my area and around the country. And it's very basic. You know, not many kids are making it out of here.
Absolutely.
Because what we're putting them in is not gearing them to be
Successful.
selected
Or
if they show up somewhere. Now, if they pass the test like GR,
Yeah.
he could show up to a tryout and automatically have 3 or 4 chances before they cross him off the list.
Absolutely.
If you and I showed up to a tryout back in the day, we're athletic. I mean, you could tell we're athletic. We're fast, like very fast and fast twitched.
Motor skill. Right. Good motor skill.
We might have a second chance. Right? But that's because we did those intangibles. I mean, I was always the first one in and out. I'm always cheering awkwardly.
Yeah.
Only because it kept me in the game.
Something different, yeah.
I couldn't just sit there and do nothing, but also, I knew how important. When I'm up to hit, if it's loud, I'm hitting it somewhere. If it's quiet, I'm like, there was a big difference for me. So just knowing that, and again, travel teams, you're not getting a lot of that because if you're only playing 9 guys, you have 6 games on a weekend. You're tired. You're sitting in the dugout like,
yeah.
So there's so many parts of it that the average eye is not going to see. The average brain is not going to comprehend. And then those coaches and organizations aren't going to bring that up because it's not a money scheme.
Right.
But because they want you to keep playing for that organization.
Right.
So, again, what is the alternative? I have ideas. And we've started doing some of those things at a small scale. And we know it could really translate. But for right now, tangibly in the next 12 months, if you don't live in my area, you're not going to have as many opportunities to if I don't pay $4,000 for travel ball and play against the best in the country, what do we do? So Zoe, what you got for the viewers?
A remedy I'd say, I wouldn't say, you got a question here too.
I'll check that out. Go ahead.
But for travel ball. So I wouldn't say that travel ball should be eliminated or anything like that. I do think there's great things about travel ball. No, you're good. But I think it should be complemented with something. So I think we were talking about speed cams, hidden cams, defensive cams, catching cams. These things, along with the showcase setting, will really, I think, provide your son or daughter, whoever's playing, the best opportunity to grow and still get exposure. It's kind of like teaching, excuse me. And showcase ball, your kid might get, 50 at-bats, depending on how many tournaments they have, 50, 60 at-bats if it's a good summer. But if you do a camp with me and you'll get double, triple that number of swings in a week.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just about, how do you want to spend your time and money? Are game reps right now what you value most? We talk about value system. Right now, are you trying to get your son or daughter the most amount of game tape and game exposure so that you can send it out? If so, then maybe, a showcase team or some type of travel team where you got a lot of game reps is better. But if they're a bit younger or it's more of an off-season type of flow, maybe more the camps. Because for me, I believe, and I felt like this as a player and even more as a coach, the most growth happens in the off-season. can't start day one of the regular season and be like, all right, guys, now it's time to get better. Now it's time to learn how to run the bases. All that happens in the off season. So, I think it also ties into another point, just having a plan for yourself. If you don't know what you want to get better at or how you want to get better, you won't know who to reach out to or where to go and all that.
Yeah, and it's difficult to know who to trust, right? I mean,
you said about the travel teams, and they asked me, I don't know either. I don't really know who to recommend. If you're 13, respectfully, I don't know who to recommend you to. And I live in PG. Like, there's even less teams over there. So they're going to Northern Virginia, or they're taking a chance on a team in DC and hoping that that's a good organization. So, or a good fit for them rather, because there's a lot of good organizations in DC, but making sure it's a good fit. So,
there are scholarships available. Again, there's multiple reasons why kids can't play travel ball, or families can't let their kids play or won't let them play. The benefits, they're good. I mean, the experience, right? Traveling, building, hanging out with all. There's a lot of good things to it, but I don't know. I'm thankful that I didn't have the travel ball, because when I actually did get a little older and then I traveled to play, it was like such an amazing feeling to be somewhere else, and then you're playing against good competition. Where we did these events for certain organizations, and it's like these kids show up and they're so used to going these nice complexes, and they don't even act like they're phased. And I'm like, we're at Truist Park today, or like no, that was a good event. Everyone was cool,
great.
But just different events, and I'm like, you act like this is just a normal day. This is a special day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This tryout, this showcase, this is a special moment for you.
Yeah, we'll go to like you said, we'll go to Florida, these other tournaments, and we might get to play on the big field that day. Our game got slated to play on the
big field,
on the minor league field,
right.
opposed to, and they're just walking on like it doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh God, y'all know the double A or the triple A, an affiliate plays there, and they're like,
they spit seeds right here.
Exactly.
Your glove just.
They're like, yeah, coach, whatever. I'm like, all right, go enjoy it, superstar.
Yeah. So. Well, I'm gonna add to your list of options, right? The hard part is a lot of times these kids have friends that play. So now you got your best friend, he's playing. That's gonna be really hard to bounce back from, right? That peer pressure is pretty real. But again, when you both are in town, you have to make that concerted effort to do those drills that you're taught, right? We get not frustrated, because we as a coach, you have to understand that kids they're not going to work as hard as you did for the most part, right? I mean, the good players, and we were good players. That I remember one of my mentors had told me that, and it stuck with me, because when I was coaching, I was like, how do kids not know how to steal a base? Or like, how come they're not, like, this pitcher is not even looking? Why are they not going?
Yes.
But it's because they don't have that same thing that we have. So I'm not saying I'm frustrated because they don't do it. It's more sad, right? It's sad that, you got these kids that are playing travel ball. They come to our camps. We give them, we help them learn how to practice on their own without a coach, without having to pay so much money. Mm-hmm. But then they don't go out there and do those specific drills that help them. There's that word, develop, but truly develop, And I think that there's a lack, again, it comes back to education. It comes back to the parents.
Yes.
The parents are there's a lot of times where kids can't make it for something because they have a travel, he's got games this weekend, he can't make it. Well, okay, but what's an hour of training?
Right.
And again, it may come down to money, but I give scholarships all the time. So
I would
so it can't, so it can't be that.
But I think it goes, value system again. Like, if you got a guy who, like me or Coach Pride, who are teaching you to hit through the ball, create some backspin, get a little bat whip going, opposed to another coach that says, hey, launch angle is the way to go. Well, I'm just saying, when they get to the next coach, Mr. Launch Angle, and the coach says, hey, well, if you don't build your swing that way, you're not going to play for me. What do? Do they say, hey, Coach Zoe and Coach Pride or Coach Remer said, but said, bat whip, get to the ball, slice the ball, get a little backspin going. But I don't know, you're telling me launch angle. Then when they get back to us, do you think they're going to be cutting through the ball? They're going to be...
Well, we know the answer.
Right. So, I mean, especially when As a teacher, you talk about incentivizing. It's going to be your grades at your job. It's your money, your paycheck. In a sport, it's playing time. Well, if they're taking that from you and it's almost an ultimatum, respectfully, like, what do you do?
Right. Yeah. The value system is real, man. Because who do you trust? Who do you know? How do you know that the money is going to be sent? I mean, you know, that's where you have to do your research, right? I mean, you know, it goes back to if a coach had played pro ball, does that make him an automatic candidate for knowing what to do to get to the next level? The answer is usually no. Right. No offense. We know a lot of guys, but that doesn't automatically mean that.
Right.
Right. Agreed. Some guys are so naturally good, they don't even know how they did it.
Exactly.
You know, I wasn't coached as much. I mean, my dad did a great job and other coaches did a great job, but not with the mechanic side. So if I never went through a great system after I graduated and I started coaching with the high school team that was phenomenal with mechanics and like I learned it, it made me more of a complete coach. So if I never had that experience, I probably wouldn't be as I know I wouldn't be as good.
No, I feel
because I didn't even learn that. So just like a player, if you're going to a hitting coach or a specialist, how do you know if that person is good? Well, we're gonna always say give it a try, right? Give it a try, and you always have to ask questions.
Yes.
The topics we're talking about, the things we just talked about in this hour, these are the things that you have to kind of present to a coach. Look, if a coach has a tough time answering questions or doesn't have the time or acts like they don't want to talk, that tells you right there where their heart might be. And again, people have things going on, so I'm not saying judge them that first time. Maybe try again one more time just to see, but you know. Find that person that's really genuine about helping. And even if the person doesn't know the answer, they say they'll get the answer. That's the best response you can get. So, just test the waters with the coaches, just like you would with a tutor.
Yep.
Right? An academic tutor. You know, we're athletic tutors out here. And again, this podcast is designed for that. So you could feel free to call us when we get that number, email, so we get the email. Yeah. But that's what our goal is we're going to present you with some of these topics, and then you can have as much time as you want, as many questions as you want, and we can help you through the process. But before we end, the key to all this is not the player. It's the parents.
I'm glad you touched on it. I was going to come
it's
back
the parents.
I was going to come back around.
Parents.
Let's wrap it up with the parents.
You have a huge, huge job. Powerful. It's very influential and now you're good. You can make or break. You're gonna make or break the player.
Absolutely.
There have been just as many players that have lost it, the opportunities, because of parents. And I'm an easygoing guy, and there's some parents that I've intentionally like, oh man, sorry, your kid hasn't played for 5 games because I feel like he's hurt.
Exactly.
He looks like he's hurt. He's not running full. He's only running a 7.7 to not a 7.71, so he's hurt.
Yeah.
But it's not a joke. Right. For a couple reasons. One, a lot of coaches may not have the aptitude to handle some of the frustrations a parent might have, right? So it's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to have those questions. But you have to understand that not every coach is equipped or is knowledgeable or experienced to have that response that you're looking for, right? Second of all, being a coach is very difficult. All right, you have to manage the attitude, energy, and effort of your team, right? The atmosphere that you want, the philosophy that a coach has needs to be implemented on a daily basis. You can't interfere with that philosophy. That throws everything off. And again, as a parent, let's talk about the positive side. If you're supportive and you're cheering, you stay out of the dugout during the game, you don't talk to your kid after the game, you just let the coach do everything while you're at the field. You don't carry the equipment for the kids. That's a big turnoff.
Talk about it.
All right, if the kid's 3, you can do it, but 5 and up, they should be carrying their own stuff. That's what I say, 5 and up. The way you are during the game is so important. Remember, if there is someone there, they're in the stands. Who else is in the stands? The parent. And the one time the parent could even be like a done. It could be a what the hell was he doing? Done. It could be, I don't know. Let's go out my kid. He should, done. I thought I said I was gonna start with the good stuff first.
Nah,
but,
you get it out the way.
But it's been tough to see a lot of good kids lose it because of the parents. Think about that. Imagine being a parent, and then you have a kid that has all this talent. You've invested all this money, time, resources. You split your family up for weekends to do all these things. The kid has this kid's got all the tools, right? This kid, he's the next good player.
Whatever, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's nothing. It's nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did a bird. I was trying to do crickets.
Empty. Yeah,
I forgot what crickets were.
Empty.
And all of a sudden, they're not getting looked at.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's reasons why people don't get looked at, but don't let it be you is what I'm trying to say. So here's some strategies for you. If you feel like saying something, just walk away for a few minutes and then remind yourself by pinching your arm, like, hey, let me just be positive, all right? If your coach is not giving your kid playing time, they do choose favorites, all right? But again, it could be because of you. And if it's not because of you, if you're listening and you haven't done anything wrong, then there's other reasons as well. We could talk about those. But the intangibles we talked about earlier today, that could be the reason. If your kid on a pop-up does not know that he got called off and now he runs into the other position and the player and the ball drops and you're taken out of the game, you don't play for 3 days, that's a reason.
Right. Because
pop-ups are supposed to be automatic. So don't be so quick to just assume that it's something. All right. And again, some coaches, honestly, maybe just don't know and they just do it and they're bad coaches. Sorry. You should have done your research. You should have known what coach it was going to be.
Right.
But if a coach is good and reputable and it's a coach answers questions and they have great feedback and there's a track record, just like we have with our organization where we have so many kids going to the next level, and not even that, just being good kids, then you can kind of ask those questions. Then you can get your kid to ask those questions and find out, like, hey, coach, what is it that I can do? But don't ask as a parent. Don't ever ask the coach why, because, honestly, the coach either knows it, or I'm sorry, the coach either doesn't know why, and they're not that knowledgeable about the game, or it's because of you. That's pretty much what I would say in that situation. Some teams have contracts that you sign.
Yes.
We're looking at one right now. There's a contracts template. I would recommend this if you're a coach listening to this. I would recommend getting a contract signed by the parents just to kind of ensure that they show up to a certain amount of games, to ensure that they're going to act properly in the stands. Because, again, they can make or break not just your kid, but the whole team. It can give the whole team and organization a bad rep, and maybe an organization doesn't get invited back to a tournament because of one unruly parent, which is real.
Yes, we never did paper contracts, but especially the last 2-3 seasons, this is the second most important conversation for me as a coach. On the first day, everyone that knows me knows I love building relationships. So I'm going to talk to my guys first. I'm introduce myself. Here's where I'm from. That's what I'm about. My philosophy. Why we're going to dominate and have fun this summer. And then at the end of that first day of practice, after I'm done and we talk about what a great first practice we had. Hey, parents, come over. This is for you guys. And we're going to lay some rules down, all right? And make sure you understand that the players play, all right?
Good coach.
So anything that appreciate you. So anything that has to do, like you said, playing time. Respectfully, mom, dad, that is not your battle. That is your son or daughter's battle. So that's something that we need to talk about. And not just because it's not your business, but I, Lorenzo Christie, and the coaches that I deal with also take a vow to build better people. So this is also helping build your skill for conflict resolution in your next team, in your next job, at your next class you take. Why didn't I get the grade I thought I was earned? Why, whatever that may be, we're here to build better people. And so as a result, this is one avenue we're going to do that. Second, the coach is coach. So I don't need the parents behind the dugout screaming and trying to, hey, make sure you throw that fastball, or hey, make sure you. They don't need that because we've.
Or umpires.
Exactly, because we've already taken care of that. Just like once you handed your son off and you allowed me to coach. I thank you so much for your trust. I'm going to do the best that I can, and I will hand him back the same or better than the way you gave him to me. You have to trust that. Lastly, parents parent. All right, I will never. I have 0 kids. I will never parent your child. Once it becomes outside the scope of baseball, he or she is all yours. And so, as a result, while it's within the scope of baseball, that's a coaching matter, not a parent matter. I need you to respect that as well. And I think if the players play, the coaches coach, and the parents parent, you have a very successful team, organization, or whatever it is. So, like, that's my 2 cents about the parents. I love the parents, and I think you talked about it with T-ball and other stuff. When you have a lot of support, whether it's an alumni or here, parents, it makes a lot of the jobs easier. Scorekeeping, game changer, all the other stuff, team snacks, whatever. And when you're traveling, you mentioned money. Well, usually when you have a good, I won't say team mom, a team parent or somebody. Manager, yep, because it could be anybody, or someone that delegates all these things, that also makes you guys have more time for fun or, expenditures or whatever else you want to do. So, yeah, I think long story short, if everyone plays their role, it becomes a very beautiful system, actually.
Well, a lot of positives with it.
Absolutely.
Again, I think it's
For sure.
in conclusion for all the stuff we've been talking about. It's a disservice if a travel team is less than 16 kids. I believe. I think it's a disservice if you're paying all that money and you only get a certain amount of at-bats.
I do.
Well, I agree with that. You know what I'm saying, and I think that again, but that's also very difficult, right? Because sometimes, like I said, if you're doing it right, the kid may not get that many at-bats if they're not doing what they're supposed to. So those types of not getting at-bats is a good thing,
Right.
So it all goes together. Where if you don't have a certain amount of players, if the coach is not somebody that really, really has, I'm never gonna say best interest. You never know what their moves are, but a coach that has that really knowledge and expectation of it's not philosophy, because it's not like you interview for a job with a philosophy and it's like, oh, this philosophy doesn't match with ours.
Exactly.
But if there is that philosophy that we talked about, that's a positive environment to be in. And then if you only have 12 kids, it can still work out, because maybe you only play with 8 one day if kids aren't doing what they're supposed to. That's how you learn. But it's a tough topic.
Right.
And there are alternatives. If you live in the DMV, we provide some camps. We provide a league that we run. That's a modified game that's really geared for travel ball and select and rec. I mean, it's the problem, we don't get as many travel players because of the image, right?
Right.
I play travel ball. Why would I play this modified game? Well, guess what? You get more bats in one season than you would in a travel ball season.
Yeah, and for me, the game moves quicker. So
and it's quicker, and you learn the situations, base running.
Exactly
We'll talk about Remer ball another day,
bad.
but
yes.
But I hope that other people come up with some creative ways, right?
Sure.
Honestly, just go out there and play tennis ball, baseball with your friends over the summer, and then attend some camps and workouts. Like those live at bats. Yesterday at camp, I was working out with one of the high school teams. We had played this tennis ball game in the gym. And at the end, when I reflected on the day, I was like, man, I don't think I did a really good job of like utilizing the time to make these kids better. That's just how I felt. How as a coach you reflect. But then I was like, wait a second, those were quality swings, because every swing they took, it meant something. If you hit a certain part of the wall, it's that point. So
and you create a competition.
So competition.
That's the big thing we don't talk about, which we can get into.
Well, we'll get into that. Yeah, that's another one.
Creating competition.
Because travel ball, you can't create the competition because you're just traveling all the time.
Exactly.
You get there 10 minutes before game time. Like, how early do you get there for game time?
They only get
an hour,
an hour, and I mean that's on paper.
Yeah.
Some guys are
10
cool.
minutes.
They're big leaguing it. They're showing up. They're showing.
Well, we're definitely having some more topic, conversation on this topic as we move. But yeah, thank you for joining us for this again. Travel ball, tough topic. I'm sure that those of you that are in it right now are thinking about getting into it. You have questions, so let us be the source of information for you. Hey, if we don't know it,
we'll figure it out.
We're gonna figure it out. And in the meantime, get some questions ready. Get ready for the upcoming podcast. We're gonna talk about more strategies. We're gonna break down mechanics. We're gonna also coach up the kids and coach up the parents and coach up the coaches throughout these podcasts. So just start getting your book ready to write in. Start getting your pen and paper out so that you can draw some of these.
Please challenge us, ask us questions.
Mhm.
We're excited and ready to get some good conversation going. So, yeah.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a great morning/day/night.
Be great on purpose.
Be the best person you can be. Hey, I gotta have one, man. I don't know.